Welcome back to K&S Exposed. I'm Kay, Kristy.
And I'm S, Sean.
And glad to have you guys back. For those of you that are still following and listening to us, we appreciate it. We are back here on a Sunday evening.
Yep.
And we are doing my pick this week. If you listened to the last episode, so you already know what it is. We saw Little Darlings tonight. 1980. I do love my 80s movies. This is
This is barely an 80s
This
movie.
is barely an 80s movie because this is literally 1980, and the production was 1979 in this, and then it came out in 1980. So, interestingly, starring Kristy McNichol, Tatum O'Neal, and Matt Dillon.
And Armand Assante.
And
his sleepy eyes.
And his beautiful, sexy, hairy chest.
Yep.
Which he shows off a couple of times. Thank you, Armand Assante. We appreciate that. Us women appreciate that. This was my pick, and I feel like we're on a little bit of a Matt Dillon kick for some reason. No offense, Julia Roberts. We still love you. But kind of after the Wild Things...
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
On the heels kind of that. And Sean obviously has never seen this. Before we get into things, I want to say, hopefully you guys have had a chance to view it. If you have not, I believe we saw it on, you can get it on Amazon Prime.
You can rent it on Amazon Prime. You can rent it on iTunes. You can purchase it on iTunes. There is no physical copy available that I can tell.
Right. Which we actually got it on, you got it on Amazon and we bought it digitally.
Knowing a while ago that you love this movie, I saw that it was on Amazon digitally and I bought it for you well before we ever planned on recording an episode for it.
Right.
But yeah, it's I think it's $4 to rent on either Amazon or iTunes HD print.
Not a big investment, people. So get it.
Not a big investment.
And again, we always hope that you watch the movie before you listen to us, but it helps. You get probably a little bit more out of it, but at the same time, not necessary if you're just enjoying what you're hearing from us, but it would make a little more sense, I'm sure.
I mean, we're exposing each other to these movies. Hopefully we're exposing them to you as well.
Yes, very good point. And so I was excited about this. I have seen this several times. I like to embellish a little and say, I've seen it 25 times on a movie. This one I have not seen that many times. I have seen probably 7 or 8 times in my life. And ironically, the other night I said to you, Sean, I said, since we've been together, or at least since we've been married, I have seen this probably at least twice. And you looked at me and said, you have? Really?
Yeah.
You know, sometimes when he's in the man cave and I'm out in the living room doing my thing, I put on little pearls that I like and that just make me feel good and that I love. And so that's probably what happened. Not knowing you hadn't seen it, and you kind of you had a kind of a kin to see it.
Yeah.
Once we started talking about it,
I had wanted to see this movie for quite some time.
And tell that story why, because I love it.
I told the story at the end of the last episode, so I'll kind of just breeze through it here. But a buddy of mine that used to write for a website that we both wrote for, who lives in Canada, we have a lot of similar interests in films, and he is a big fan of just the summer camp genre of movies in general, and of which Little Darlings is one of them. And he had always spoke of this movie, but at the time, and we're talking about the mid-2000s, it was incredibly difficult to find. As I said, there was no DVD, there was no streaming at that point. So if your Blockbuster didn't have a VHS copy, which, let's face it, that was already on the way out, even at that time, you weren't watching this movie. And now it's available for us.
I just love that story, that was kind of in your wheelhouse a bit. And then, again, it's hard to find.
Right.
But thank you, Amazon, for usually finding us these little gems, where you can get them.
Yeah, and it's not something that's completely locked.
Right.
That it's out. You can obtain it, you just can't. It's not on Netflix or anything like that. Maybe it's on YouTube. So we looked it up, and you can watch this on YouTube for free. if you're so interested.
Yes. So, good to know. And
so if you're on the fence, there's no damn excuse really.
Yeah.
For you.
Because and to be fair,
quit trying to make excuses for yourself.
Really.
Just do things. I'm tired of your bullshit.
Right.
Listeners.
We don't know that they all have bullshit. They might not have. I mean, don't say that.
Yeah. Well,
it's judging.
They're gonna find out. That Little Darlings is up soon.
Well, that
and if you want to listen to our podcast and you're like, well, but Sean and Kristy, like, I don't need to see the movie. It's like, well, no, you can.
Well, also, everybody has access to Amazon. And come on, for like $3 or $4, it doesn't matter. It's not going to be higher than that. Just, there is no excuse, really. So, coming of age story, basically. I always bring this up because when I pick the movie, I suppose some are going to think, oh, geez, is this a chick flick? We sometimes want to put it in that pigeonhole if it is or it isn't. It's a coming-of-age story, basically, of, these girls, all these girls go to summer camp. And then on the guys' side, too. They're at their own summer camp on the other side of the lake.
They're not the focal point.
But they're not the focal point. But, I mean, coming-of-age story, I call it. Wrong side of the tracks. By the way, this is Atlanta, where all these girls are coming from and to go to summer camp.
Right.
So the wonderful city of Atlanta. Honestly, I can't say that because I've never been. I have no idea. But whatever. Wrong side of the tracks because Kristy McNichol coming from, it appears, I don't want to say the hood, but, not a great neighborhood. And then Tatum O'Neal coming from, rich family, and definitely the right side of the tracks.
Oh, there's stereotypes at play here family. For sure. And Tatum O'Neal is definitely part of the rich princessy type character, and Kristy McNichol is not. She's tomboyish.
Yes.
She's got the Andy Gibb haircut. She's got her cigarettes rolled up in her sleeve.
Yeah.
She's,
the short shorts with the slit up the side.
She wants to ride bikes. She doesn't want to, play dolly dress up. Man.
Right. So I love the dichotomy of both characters because they're complete opposite. I always have to bring up a little bit of the Mean Girls movie because, the Mean Girls element in this, especially Cinder, played by the amazing Krista Erickson, who, she's such a bitch. Cinder, the one that is the model, and she did her cream commercials or whatever, but she's got big teeth, and she's not judging her looks, but I'm bringing that up because I don't find her attractive at all. But yet she's the model, and walking around in her high heels and stuff, and, she thinks she's famous because she did, I think, one fucking cream commercial. Or something.
Hey, she's getting $100 residual checks for it.
Right, which, by the way, that's what the bet is, if you've seen the movie and what we're getting into here in a minute. The bet is $100, and I paused and I turned to Sean and I go, here we go back with, when we talked about this on Officer and a Gentleman, $100 in 1980.
Yeah.
When this movie was done, I mean, that's a lot of money.
You could, with $100
that'd be like $200 now?
With no, it's probably more than that. It's probably closer to $400.
Oh, okay.
$100 in 1980 can get you your belt buckles shined and polished 4 times over.
4 times over, like Richard Gere.
Yeah.
In Officer and a Gentleman. Valid point, Sean. Taken. So, but I say the Mean Girls element because it's not just her. It's all the other girls. You know what I mean? That jump on. I guess we should note that most of these girls are 15. Okay, maybe one,
and realistically 15 too.
Yeah.
Not like a 30-year-old.
Not the Andrea Zuckerman thing where they're 24 and they're playing a 15-year-old.
These are authentically young girls.
Yes, and they look amazing. But at the same time, like Cinder is saying that the meanest girl heading up the Mean Girls is saying, oh, she's already had sex with her boyfriend. And to be fair, I believe her. But, I remember being, 15, 16, and, that was the talk among your friends. Have you done it? Have you not done it? We're talking sex people now. So just,
Oh, was that what this was about?
Yeah. Okay.
I completely missed it.
Yeah, I know. Yeah. Sorry. Okay. Sarcasm. Yes. It's just, it's fascinating how all the pressure that's behind it. I felt it just watching this. Every time I watch it, I felt it because it's summer camp, talking about sex,
Just a bunch of girls stuck together,
yeah,
for a period of time.
But these other sweet girls that actually are funny in their own right, but they jump on Cinder, who is the head of the Mean Girls, as I said, kind of jump on. It just reminded me of the Mean Girls movie.
They jump on, but it's definitely not in that same kind of click angle. They just
want to be a part of something.
They're just having a good time.
Yeah.
And they're just going with whoever's gonna take charge of the.
At Camp Little Wolf.
Camp Little Wolf.
Camp Little Wolf. I mean, so this brings up a question.
Little Wolf, big problems.
Exactly. Right?
Yeah.
Anyway, so Ferris and Angel. Ferris is played by Tatum O'Neal, and Angel by Kristy McNichol.
Yeah.
I do want to note...
don't let the name fool you.
Yes. Oh my gosh. Thank you. Stole it. I was going to say it. The whole premise of this movie is don't let the name fool you. Because it's Angel, and Kristy McNichol is, far from an angel, or she's trying hard to get out of that image. Because to be fair, she is a sweet girl.
Yeah,
but she's playing tough, coming from the tough Atlanta neighborhood. You know what I mean?
And we learn about her, and we realize that her home life obviously isn't as good.
Right,
as
but I love her mom.
The facade.
Right, but I love her mom. I mean, it's not like it's
Angel's
mom.
Oh, yeah, no, I'm talking about Ferris.
Oh, Ferris, yeah. And I love her relationship with her dad, by the way. Also, who played him, another character actor that's been in a million things.
Yeah,
I'm not going to name drop him because, folks, if you watch the movie, you've seen the dad in so many things. But I love it. Again, coming of age, because when he comes to visit her at camp, finds out, she says, my mom went to Reno, and she goes, people get divorced in Reno, so she's already
Is that a thing.
What?
Though obviously I wasn't around in 1980. I never once had an image in my mind of Reno as being the divorce city.
I know that part was kind of funny because she's like, people go there to get divorced. I'm like, you're 15, so that's your frame of reference. How do you know that?
Yeah, well, I'm just saying maybe it was a thing in the 70s that was known for.
Sure,
but that completely missed me in my generation.
On a flip side...
No, I mean, you have Vegas, everybody getting married.
Thank you. I was just going to say that. People go to Vegas, and that's been a forever thing.
Sure.
Let's go get married in Vegas really quick. So maybe Reno was a thing. Although maybe people got married in Reno, too. Apparently they get divorced in Reno. I don't know. She was also surmising that situation. She said, Mom went to Reno. Isn't that where people get divorced? Whatever. You're 15. How did she know that? But at the same time... It's still relevant that what you're seeing as part of this story is that she's realizing when he comes to visit her at camp, when it's parents' weekend, after a couple of weeks, that either way, they're getting divorced. Mom and dad are getting divorced. She kind of goes into a little bit of a catatonic state, where she doesn't want to talk to everybody for a couple of days. I get it. If I was 15 and my parents were getting divorced and I'm trying to find my sexual... awakening, thank you, and then my parents are getting divorced. You said it best. When Angel, Kristy McNichol's mom, came to a parents' weekend, she asked her mom, when did you when did you lose your virginity?
Right.
And her mom said 19, and she's like, it wasn't that big of a deal. And Kristy McNichol said, well, then why does everybody make such a big deal about it?
Great,
and you thought that was kind of a poignant line, and it really was. So, already kind of starting off the shoot right there. And also, to my friends that know me, I did not pick this movie because Kristy McNichol spells her name the exact same way as I do. Although, it is the cool way to spell Kristy, if I have to be fair. Also, I've never met a Kristy in my life that is spelled it the same way as mine. So, I kind of thought that was cool in the 70s, that when I did... watch her. I know that sounds corny, you know what I mean? But it was kind of cool that she had the exact same name as me. I don't know why.
It was the same effect that you had with Jamie Gertz growing up.
Well, sure, with Jamie Gertz, right? Because she had the same last name. Yeah, and that was a big deal. And Square Pegs, when she came out, it's like, are we related? How do we have the same last name? Anyway, it's a big deal in the Kristy spelling, but obviously that's not why I watched the movie. I like her. I listened. She had music prior to her acting, which we talked about one night. several months ago, and you had no idea.
I had zero idea that she was a child singer performer with her brother.
And very cheesy 70s.
Oh,
it's Kristy and Jimmy McNichol. If you guys want to look it up, I had the 45. I don't know if I want to say I'm not proud. I guess I am proud because it was the 70s.
Yeah.
And I had the 45, Kristy and Jimmy. And after I told Sean about this several months ago, just in general about Kristy McNichol, he actually looked up some of the old videos of those two.
Yeah, performing on television.
Cheese overload.
Yeah.
But it's great.
It's a product of its time.
It is.
For sure.
It's the 70s.
Yeah.
And they were great. And I dug that. And all the stuff that came with it.
Kristy giving a rare appreciation to the 70s here, when she's usually reserves that to the 80s.
Yes. So I will say that. I'd like to do a head nod to the 70s and sometimes the 90s as well.
Mm-hmm.
They had great music, and being born in 71, I mean, I'm a 70s baby, so it was stuff like that was cool. And I love the cheese, and I still love the cheese. Yeah. So anyway, I wanted to expose Sean to this movie. Kick it off. I mean, let's just, we have so much to say about it. But I ultimately, before we start off, what say you? Your initial reaction now that we are done and we just finished this movie 10 minutes ago.
Yeah, so this is my initial reaction in a nutshell is I genuinely think this is a great movie. And as most of the films that Kristy has shared with me for this podcast, this is one of the best, I think, and in all honesty. Like, I put this up there with Working Girl. Like, I really liked Working Girl. And I mean, I really liked Aaron Brockovich also, obviously. But as far as movies that I didn't have too much of a cursory awareness of.
Sure. But the story you had behind it with that guy,
your
friend, you told me, I'm excited to see this.
In 100% seriousness, had Rhett never mentioned this movie to me at all, I've never heard anybody else talk about it.
I don't know who else.
I've never heard it mentioned. Yeah. Obviously, it's been unavailable for decades.
Yes. Gem. It's a gem.
It's a hidden gem.
It's a hidden gem.
And it's one that I hope becomes more unearthed, because it's just a solidly good movie. And it's a movie that they're not going to make anymore.
Exactly.
At all. Not just because the times have changed, but because temperaments changed. I mean, this is... You had, in the late 90s, you had American Pie come out, right?
Mm-hmm.
And American Pie, which obviously not a camp movie, but meaning set in a camp.
Sure.
But it has the same, like, baseline plot where it's just people trying to lose their virginity and making bets about it.
Sure.
But
sure.
It was completely played for laughs. I mean, American Pie is a comedy, and it's
also very real of what kids talked about in high school.
Sure, and it was handled, a lot differently.
Yeah, I mean, I never made bets with my friends who's going to do it first. I mean, I'm sorry, I never did that personally. I can't say that you did, but you're a dude, so you guys are all about the boobs.
It's a false premise in the real world.
But it's also part reality as well.
And what I like is that in this movie, they kind of deal with the false premise of it. Because it's like, okay, you can say we're going to make a bet on which of us or which of these two are going to lose their virginity first.
Right.
There's no real way that another person of the same age can verify that.
Yeah.
Kids lie all the damn time.
Right. Well, no.
Kids lie in this movie.
Exactly. Look, I'm sure I knew guys in high school that said, dude, I'm sleeping with all these girls.
Right.
And it's like...
And they're probably never even...
And you probably never
got
even
with
with one or even touched one. So come on. We don't know this. Nobody's... You know what I mean? It's also your sexual... not awakening. Experience. Is I feel your business. It's not really anybody else's business. If you want to brag about it, great. But there was also those people in movies and in real life that bragged about it all the time.
Yeah.
And you always have to look and go, doth protest too much? You know what I mean?
Sure.
Meaning, you're full of shit. Is how I like to say.
And as far as, teen sex films, this is handled incredibly maturely
Right.
Considering the age of the cast involved.
It's tender.
There is no shortage. You can throw a rock and hit a 80s sex comedy.
Yes.
Like there's like if you just took all the comedies of the 80s and actually classified them, I'm sure 20% of them or more are sex comedies, but most of them are incredibly immature. Most of them aren't very good, or they're just excuses to show boobs, on screen. I mean, Porky's being a classic example, or
exactly.
Revenge of the Nerds, or something to that, effect. But this is handled very seriously,
which is ironic. Exactly. I think I love that you brought up Porky's, because I think we even talked about that a few months ago. When Porky's came out, I was like, the age I was, mm-hmm. I was like, oh my God, this is like a lot of sex, and this is overt, probably due to my age when it came out. And then I saw it later in life, and I was like, this is kind of fucking stupid,
I go a step beyond and say, I don't think Porky's, and granted, Porky's is one of the odd ones that I saw later in life. I didn't see it as a kid. Like, if I saw Porky's when I was 12 years old, I probably would have thought it was like this amazing revelation because of all the boobs in that movie.
Right.
But I saw Porky's when I was like 18 or 19, and I'm like this. It was so built up in my own mind.
And it was 81.
Right.
So Porky's came out in 81, and of course you were just born in 81. Sure. So,
but it was like a legendary movie to me.
No.
It's really, it is. And I'm like, this movie's not even funny. And I stand by it.
Right.
I do not think Porky's is in the slightest bit funny.
Right.
As opposed to other sex comedies.
But you know what I mean? Overt at the time. I mean, I was 10 when it came out. Okay.
Yeah.
But at the same, I didn't see it at 10. But I mean, I saw it when I was early teens. I don't really remember. Sure. But then, Porky's is just, you hear Porky's and it's just like people, feel a certain way about it because it was like, it's kind of a funny movie. Now it's kind of considered funny, stupid. It was
a big deal.
Silly.
Porky's was a hit movie.
Yeah.
It spawned 2 sequels and one many, many years later.
Right. That's true.
And it was successful enough that there was an Atari 2600 video game made for Porky's. And it's like, why?
Of course you know that.
Why?
Of course, why? Exactly. For sure. I also, there's one that I put in the same category as Porky's. I don't know if you've seen it. We've probably talked about it. The Last American Virgin.
I've not ever seen it from start to finish. Okay. But from what I've seen of it, that seems like a more serious film.
Yeah. It was, and I've seen it a couple of times. It's some of the sex scenes were, again, similar to Porky's. Not sex scenes so much, but the connotation of is that the right word? Connotation or
finish your statement and I'll tell you.
I guess where it was going and the time with the kids, and again it's all the same premise. I guess it sounds like we're segueing, but we're not, because we're actually bringing this back to the 1980 movie that we're talking about,
fit it in its place in its genre,
about sexual awakening and what kids are thinking. For me, this one, I gotta say, this is coming from a woman. Mm-hmm. I understand, but Kristy, some of her scenes were fucking moving.
Yes,
you have to admit, like some scenes with Matt Dillon,
both of them, her and Tatum, both of them had just nail it home scenes.
Yeah. But I meant Kristy's were a little bit more serious than Tatum's.
Agreed.
When Tatum's looking at Armand Assante and saying, I only have 6 weeks to live. So, like, she's trying to get him to have sex with her, clearly. We know it's not going to happen as the viewer. But you don't want to even go, that's bad acting, because it's not bad acting. It's part of the acting she's trying to, get her.
It's bad acting in the same way Denise Richards was a bad actor.
No.
Her character is lying.
Yes.
And she's not pulling off.
But so it's bad character lying,
right.
I suppose.
Right.
But there's a couple scenes where Kristy, and I hope you saw this, where Kristy McNichol literally she almost just, she cries a little bit, but she doesn't overt cry, crazy cry.
No, because she's tough.
Yeah, like who'd I say crazy cried the other night in the movie? That it's like, you're always crazy crying. It's like the same thing. It's, Anne Hathaway. because I watched a movie with Anne
Oh.
Hathaway, and I know you like her, but it's just like every time she cries, it's the same fucking crying scene. There's no range. Sorry, fight me.
Oh, I'm not gonna sit here and defend my life on Anne Hathaway.
Yeah, but when Kristy didn't, she had the single one or two tear coming down her cheek, but she would say nothing for like 10 seconds or so.
Or she'd look away.
Or she'd
like
look
she's trying
away,
to
like
hide the cry.
Yes. Oh my God, that's one of the best when you're trying to hide the cry. I do that.
Yeah, that's real.
Yeah, and when I'm upset because I do the hide cry, and then you're in trouble. Usually, am I right?
I don't know. I don't pay attention.
There we go. So
I just assume I'm right and move on.
Yeah. Okay. I see how that goes. But she did that. She'd pause for like 10 or 15 seconds. She'd look away, and then she'd just do the nod, to whoever character she was talking to. It was fucking moving.
Yeah,
I actually wrote that on my notes. Moving.
That's why I hold this movie in a higher regard. It's this movie could have easily been a sex comedy.
Yeah.
Well, I don't think they would have cast
No,
young if they were trying to do that.
No.
But,
and you should leave comedy out of that because there is comedic moments.
No, yeah, this isn't even Meatballs. This is a real.
Exactly.
There's actual drama that happens in here. It's funny. I was actually going to compare it to a less violent.
Oh, they're calling it a teen comedy drama. A teen comedy drama.
Well, it's got all of that. I mean, but so does every movie.
Sure.
I mean, tell me a movie that doesn't have at least one comedic joke in it, or is it? I don't know that. Like some of the supporting characters in this movie, are there for laughs. Like, I mean, we'll talk about Penelope right now. I guess Penelope is like the youngest girl.
Yes, the little blonde,
like a little chunky girl. But she is by far the funniest character in this movie.
Awesome.
She doesn't want to hang out with the girls younger than her.
That are in the cabin of her and the 10-year-olds. She wants to be with the 15-year-olds, and somehow she gets kicked out of the 15-year-old cabins because she's not supposed to be there. But then she still comes back, and it's amazing.
That's who she hangs out with.
And before we get into the supporting characters, I cannot believe we've gone 31 minutes without mentioning Matt Dillon. Wow. Okay. He's a pretty boy in this. Very young, obviously 1980 Matt Dillon. We always talk about what drew us to, each of our own movies, and Sean hasn't asked me that yet, but we were talking about it before we signed on here tonight. I don't really know what brought me to this. I think, I did listen to Kristy McNichol's music in the 70s, and then I saw this movie, and then, Jesus, Matt Dillon, although, he was an up-and-comer, because we talked about this outside. Sean said Over the Edge?
Yeah, Over the Edge.
Was 1979, I believe that was his debut, and then this was his next movie, and The Bodyguard. And by the way, listeners, My Bodyguard. If you haven't seen My Bodyguard, 1980, it's a great movie.
Over the Edge is a fantastic movie.
And Sean said that tonight, and I saw it. I have not seen Over the Edge.
That's another movie that was really difficult to find for a while.
Yeah.
There's a whole swath of movies in the late 70s and early 80s that never got released after VHS, or haven't until recently, because music rights held everything up, because they just were like, oh, well, we'll pay you to be in the movie, but they never paid, or they never contracted the rights for home video sales or rentals. So, it could work in the rental market, but not in the home video market.
But we're all the poorer for it.
We are all the poorer
for
it. There's so much art to this day that's still just lost or trapped in VHS and Laserdisc hell that most people can't view it.
And we can talk about Matt Dillon all day long. I mean, if you just listen to Wild Things, people.
Yeah, we already covered.
Okay, covered a lot of Dillon. So if you haven't caught that episode, please go catch it. But I will say, once again, no Matt Dillon penis in this, though. I mean, but then again, it's 19.
God damn, he was 16 years old.
I know. But, I don't know if he was 16 in the movie, but whatever. But this was the like his breakthrough role, I
Right,
guess. I mean,
right.
sorry, Over the Edge was, but Over the Edge was 79.
It was just the year before
The
this.
production of
yeah.
this was 1979, came out in 80. So this was really his second film. So if you're a Matt Dillon fan, you got to check this out. I mean, granted, there's no penis in this, okay? But he
I don't think there's any Dillon penis in anything.
I know, but can I hope? I just want to hope.
I don't know. I mean, hold on to your dreams. Never let them go.
Matt Dillon, if you're listening, you can just, like, listen to Kevin Bacon and just do, like, one scene. There's a few of us that just, whatever, okay, so it's not going to happen. But he did have his shirt off in this, which was nice.
Yeah,
but he has his shirt off in a lot of things.
Yeah.
So I'm just saying, I'm a girl. This is what
Look, if you
can talk about, if you can talk about boobies in films, I can talk about, like,
the lack of dick in films.
I guess just Matt Dillon's.
Okay,
that's all.
Matt Dillon, help some women out.
Yes, yeah, please
let
help a girl out, would you? I think when we were talking about that Tatum was in this, you said, is her dad Ryan O'Neal? I think you asked me that.
I asked that, yeah.
Which it is. I also, I think I already fact checked myself. Tatum O'Neal won the Oscar for Paper Moon when she was, like, I don't know, a baby. Not a baby, but she was like 6 or 7. I thought she was the youngest to win an Oscar. I have not seen Paper Moon. I can't speak for you. Have you?
I don't recall that I have. If she was the youngest person to win an actress or Best Actor award or Actress award, she's not anymore. I know that because
who's the little girl that won for the
Anna
piano?
Paquin.
Okay, the Anna Paquin, yeah.
Piano, and that was I remember that being a big deal at the time that she was the youngest.
And also Tatum and her dad Ryan were both in Paper Moon together, which is interesting. Anyway, just kind of fascinating. But I mean, I'm not a Tatum O'Neal follower per se. She is, like, super pretty in this. I mean,
yeah, she's a pretty young girl. Sure.
Beautiful eyes, skin, and teeth. Jesus, I mean, she looks great in this. But I also think Kristy McNichol looks great.
Fits the part. I mean, honestly, they both perfectly fit the part.
They do.
As far as one being a rich princessy type, and the other, like what bothered me, if any, and I'm using this loosely, is that as much as I liked the casting in this movie, I think that Tatum O'Neal in this movie is far more model-esque than whoever the girl was that was cast as the model character.
Cinder.
Yeah, Cinder.
Yes.
I mean, she just looked like any random person. But there was a throwaway line that I kind of liked when Cinder introduced herself as the model.
Yeah.
Because she's like, you probably see me in a commercial, in this commercial. And they're like, well, what did you play? And she's like, I played the before girl in this makeup commercial. And I'm like, okay, so in a makeup commercial, the before look isn't the attractive look, is it? Usually, exactly. Like, I mean, obviously you're trying to sell the makeup.
And this is terrible because, I mean, it shouldn't be women bashing on women, and I'm not trying to do that. I just didn't find her attractive at all.
No.
If you're a model.
She had amazing hair. And if they would have changed it to be like I was the girl in that Pantene commercial or that Vidal Sassoon commercial, I would have bought that hook, line, and sinker.
Right.
Because it's like, okay, yeah, the way your hair flows in this movie, I totally get it.
Tatum was just like those piercing eyes. She was gorgeous.
Yeah.
But again, Kristy's character was gorgeous in her own right as well. In the Tough Girl.
Yeah.
But I love that you brought up hair, because here's why. Every time I watch this movie, I believe it's in my Letterboxd review as well from the times I've seen this. Please this is an important question. Are you ready?
I'm anxiously awaiting.
Put Matt Dillon and Kristy McNichol right beside each other, and they were right beside each other in a lot of scenes, okay? Like, side by side, great moments. I have to know this, because I'm still on the fence. Who has the better fucking hair?
I think they both have the same hair.
Right?
Like, it's...
his is less feathered.
Almost every... This is why I'm saying it's like, the 80s really start, like, in 1983, as far as I'm concerned. Like, you still have that holdover looks from the 70s rolling around.
Yes.
Like, disco is still a thing.
Yeah.
in 1980, and everybody here looks like a Bee Gees cover.
I know,
Everybody does.
But their hair, they have similar hair.
And look, it is currently 2022. I am currently 41 years old. I'd trade places with any one of these kids for their hair.
Yeah.
Trust me. I think the look is amazing. I think Dillon's hair is amazing. If I could rock that look with those long flowing feathered hair, I would do it. I don't care how out of style or out of touch it is.
But no, hers was more feathered, and I get that. But what I loved that it was feathered. There was like, she's not using any hairspray, because she's Kristy McNichol. Yeah. She's Angel. She doesn't have time for hairspray.
No.
And also, I saw her hair move. And I told you, my hair didn't move in the 80s because of...
There was no white
rain
in this movie.
There was no white rain in this because her hair actually moved, and I loved it. So I also wanted to know, how did she keep her feathers like that? Because feathers were great. Some of the girls had barrettes, and, she didn't. She just, her hair didn't move. Anyway,
it's not like they're using... I can't imagine in that camp, like, there's no situation where they would be using like either hair curlers or crimpers or anything.
Although Cinder's hair was always on point.
But I think that's a Hollywood thing. Like I that's probably an unnatural thing in this otherwise naturalistic movie.
Yeah,
everybody's wearing makeup too.
That's true.
And it's like, I don't think that in a summer camp environment. Correct me if I'm wrong, ladies. I've never been to a young girls' summer camp.
Have you been to camp? I've never been to camp.
No, closest I came to camp, it was in 6th grade. We had like a 2-week as part of school.
Yeah, like a field trip, but an extended field trip?
Yeah, it was like an extended field trip where we went up north to cabins here within the state. And, the boys were on one side and the girls were on the other. And I lived in a cabin with like 8 other people for like a week, maybe a week and a half. 2 weeks seems excessive. I don't remember. And that was a fun experience. And that's probably the closest thing to a summer camp that we had.
I don't think I did a summer camp. To my knowledge, I didn't. But we did field trips.
But not like a sleepaway camp sort of situation. Yeah. Like where it's summer.
Yeah.
And your parents just like kick you off to go hang out with random people.
Right. And
that is so foreign of a concept to me. I think it sounds cool as shit. Like I've growing up in the 80s, I've seen enough summer camp movies, between movies like Little Darlings or Meatballs or even Friday the 13th, where where you're, or Sleepaway Camp, or like where you see like a bunch of cool teens hanging out with each other, and both the counselor side and the kids side, and I'm like, this seems like a lot of fun.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, it was not a thing. But I lived most of my life in Arizona.
Right.
I don't think it was as popular of an idea as maybe in the wooded areas of the country.
Did you ever? I also thought, and I'm not judging anybody listening that went to camp, but I always kind of felt like in like this movie, not this movie specifically, some of the movies, it's like, did you send your kid to camp because you just wanted to get rid of them? I think there's a lot of that. I think there's a lot of that. That's not, or some of them, some of them want them to grow and experience and get blah, 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 with experience with other kids their age, whatever.
I think that came up in Meatballs, didn't it? Because then they have that, the day where the parents come, or the 2 days that the parents come. And, one of those kids' parents never come, and so
or one of them wants to go home, and, like, they're like, no, you have to stay.
Right.
Like, I get it. I mean, everybody has their different situation.
Sure.
I like camp movies myself. Sleepaway Camp, I'm laughing that you brought that up. A little bit of a different camp experience.
Well, same thing with Friday the 13th, obviously.
Well, sure, because that was not a good camp experience, only because those kids aren't coming home. They're not all of them.
But when you watch something like Friday the 13th and you see like
Jason.
All the setup, or Jason's mom and Pamela Voorhees, but you see all those kids like getting everything set up, and they're just like goofing off and dancing around, and like it seems like a lot of fun. Yeah. Like the concept of summer camp seems like a lot of fun.
I agree. And we segued with the hair thing, and but these are things that your wife thinks about. So these are things that I think about when I'm watching a movie. It's like I'm so distracted every time I watch this. Who has the better hair? And I'm still on the fence. I can't give the award out for that because I really don't know. They're both equal to me. They're both beautiful people. and it's a young Matt Dillon, which he always looked like his lips were red. Like somebody kept putting lip gloss on him or something.
I think that's a movie makeup of the time sort of thing.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because his skin is beautiful as well, but it's just like, it's perfect, and then he just always looked like he had lip gloss on. I don't know, maybe the makeup artist kept running up to him and saying, here, you need to look shiny or something. Yeah. I don't know. But it's like, it's Matt Dillon. You don't, just leave him alone. He's beautiful, as he is. I also wanted to know, also stupid stuff that I think about, I'm either talking about useless information or stupid stuff. Okay, so she's from Atlanta. They're all from Atlanta, right? And they're going to this camp.
I think I don't know that Atlanta or Georgia is ever once mentioned.
No, I don't believe so.
We looked it up. We looked up filming locations.
Right. I wanted to say New Jersey, people. I mean, I had
New Jersey
idea.
is where Friday the 13th was filmed.
Right. So I don't know why I thought that. So I after all the times I've seen this, I had to look.
But it's like all these camp movies for the most part look the same. Right. I mean, because it's cabins in the woods.
And it's, yeah.
I mean, Meatballs was filmed in Canada.
Also a good movie.
Friday the 13th was filmed in New Jersey principally. Yeah. At least initially. Sleepaway Camp was in New York or New Jersey. Right. I mean, so... But
also not important in the location per se, because it's about the story and what happens.
Anywhere there's a lake and some cabins, you can set up a summer camp movie.
Exactly. But here's what I want to know. And this is not something you've thought about, because I think of stupid shit when I'm watching a movie. It doesn't matter where it is. Atlanta, New Jersey. As it turns out, this is Atlanta. Mm-hmm. Kristy McNichol, Angel...
Yeah.
Is from the city. Whether it's a good part or a bad part, we don't know. We don't care. She's a tough girl.
Yeah, she's Joe.
She's Joe Polnicek.
Yeah, she's Joe Polnicek
from Facts of Life. Good. That's a good reference. How is she an expert canoer?
Is she an expert canoer?
She's canoeing a lot in this. Is that a word? Canoeing.
Hold on.
I say expert.
Hold on.
She has a cigarette in her mouth and she's canoeing.
You're on a lake.
Or rowing. What do you call it?
You're on a lake.
Yeah.
There's hardly any current.
She had one oar.
She had two oars.
She had one, and she kept going back and forth with the same oar with a cigarette in her mouth.
Right.
Like, I'm not calling her an expert canoer.
I don't think that you need to be an expert to do that. It's one oar. You sit in the boat.
Have you tried to
I have canoed before, yes.
I am not good at it, but I am not coordinated. So I know you're not. You're looking at me shocked right now.
I'm shocked.
She had one oar, not two. Also, here's my other problem with it. It's not really a problem because Matt Dillon was too busy sitting in the canoe looking pretty with lip gloss on, apparently. But he does not canoe. He does not help once. She's doing all the work. What do you call it? Canoeing?
Yeah,
or like,
she's piloting the canoe.
She's piloting. He's doing nothing except sitting there watching her smoking cigarettes. Now, I believe this was in my letterbox as well. If Matt Dillon was sitting across from me, I love you, but if Matt Dillon was sitting across from me in a canoe, I'll do the rowing the whole time. He can just sit there and look pretty.
To be fair, I don't know that he felt like compelled or a need to, because typically...
It's a gentleman thing to offer. Can I help canoe?
Is it? I mean, here's the thing. She rose the first time that she rose up to him when he was like sitting on the pier, right, and with the other guys from Camp Tomahawk.
Yeah,
and she's just like, "Hey, you get in."
Yeah,
and he's like, "Okay," and he does. Which, by the way, does the camp not care that he just jumps off the pier
Apparently
and swims into one of the girls' canoes?
Do they not care that she stole the canoe like the bus? I mean,
okay, yeah. There is absolutely.
No supervision.
There's supervision. There is no consequences to any actions in this movie.
It's summer camp. What are you going to do? It's also a movie,
you get
but I get it.
From camp.
No, I know. And how they all ran away in like a group every time they ran away. And it's like, who's watching these kids? If I'm the parent of one of these kids and they're just going off and doing all this tomfoolery...
Yeah.
I'm like, who's watching my fucking kids?
Also, if with that loose of a run camp, what kid wouldn't want to be there?
I know.
Which, by the way, credit to it.
Yeah.
Credit to it.
I want to go to Camp Little Wolf.
This is the only summer camp movie that I've seen where there's not a kid going, "I wish I was home. I want to go home."
Yeah, that's
like
true.
They're not. Everybody's having a pretty chill time.
Did you know I'm 51 years old and I want to go to Camp Little Wolf? Like tomorrow. Like, I'd go.
I mean, I can't
Can I go for like a week?
I could go to Camp Tomahawk.
You could go to Camp Tomahawk, and then I could come get in my canoe and like come over.
Yeah, but you won't make it because
I won't make
you're
it.
not an expert canoeer.
No, because I don't have skills like that. Also, you know what I would do? It would take me 3 hours to get across the lake, and then you would dive in like Matt Dillon, and you'd get in the canoe, and then I'd go, okay, fuck it, I'm tired. Now you row. So that's what would happen.
Right.
So I'm just saying, I just found it, anyway, I found it funny. You're from the city. You've never been to summer camp, clearly. You've never been in a canoe, and all of a sudden you're like all, I don't know. I just thought it was funny. Every time I watch it, I'm just like, it's just weird. Like you don't have any experience or background of that, and the whole time you're smoking a cigarette without holding it. By the way, it's just hanging there by your mouth.
Well, she has experience with that. That's clear.
Well, that is clear. And we'll get to that in a minute because what we talked about outside earlier. But I'm just saying, it's just fascinating. Anyway, it's also funny, and I said it's in my Letterboxd review. It's like, whatever. If Matt Dillon was in my canoe, I guess I'd be rowing him all over the lake.
Really stuck on that.
What? I would. So, he's Matt Dillon.
Just rowing in a circle.
Just rowing in a circle. Matt Dillon's looking at me.
Only using the
cigarette hanging out of my mouth. Yeah, exactly. All right. So, funny we were talking about the smoking, and we just touched upon it. You saw something, just a little brief thing when you looked online about the smoking of Kristy McNichol.
I don't know how much is true and how much isn't, in trivia that you read online, but Kristy McNichol smokes a lot in this movie. And
does Matt Dillon.
She was 15 years old when she made this movie, so she was age appropriate for the movie, not age appropriate to be smoking them cigarettes.
Right.
And she was smoking Reds. She was smoking Marlboro Reds. That's rough
stuff.
As was Matt.
A lot of Budweiser in this too.
A lot of old pull tab style Budweisers. But she smokes a lot, and apparently, according to IMDb trivia, which could or could not be accurate, but she started smoking for this movie, and she became addicted, and she couldn't get over it for like another decade.
Yeah.
So throughout the entire 80s, Kristy McNichol smelled like an ashtray.
Yeah. Well, also, if you're trying to quit smoking and you're trying to better yourself, don't watch this movie because you're going to want a cigarette because that's all.
Don't watch this or don't watch any David Lynch movies.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, she pretty much had a cigarette in her mouth the whole time. Yeah. I mean, as did Matt Dillon. But maybe that's why they were attracted to each other. I don't know. I mean, or they have similar hair dues. So that too.
Yeah.
I think we were laughing earlier. Two scenes that I love the most. Just gotta throw them out there right now. The food fight.
Food fight's great.
Okay, food fight's great. And by the way, if any of our viewers have never done a food fight, to my knowledge, I haven't. I've always wanted to.
I've been in a food fight.
I mean, I just want to just sit at a table and just chuck things at somebody else. That was fun.
That's possibly the most fun food fight I've ever seen.
I think I heard you giggle at one point.
I giggled because here's what's great about this movie in general is that your two protagonists of this movie really aren't enemies of each other.
No. They were smiling throughout
and
the food fight.
They're the ones who start the food fight because they're sitting next to each other. And they're not throwing stuff across the cafeteria. Tatum O'Neal will take a pancake with syrup all over it and just slap it right on Kristy McNichol's neck. I got that backwards. Yeah, Kristy would do that to Tatum, and she's laughing the whole time.
Oh, they were smiling at each other.
They're both smiling. They're both
it looked like a fun scene
throwing whipped cream at each other. It looked just like it had to be fun. I feel like if I was making this movie, that would be the final scene shot.
Yeah.
I'd be like, all right, kids, you had fun. We're about to wrap this movie. It's, day 28 or whatever. This is going to be when we do the food fight.
Yeah.
And just go all out and have a good time.
But then the head lady comes in with her whistle and still she screams, "Girls!"
Yeah.
And it's so funny because somebody throws and slaps oatmeal or something in her face.
And again, no consequences.
No consequences. I know.
We do not see a single person
I want to go to
this
Camp Little
movie properly punished for anything that they do this near
except Callahan.
But we don't even see that.
Yeah.
We see him sulking outside a cabin and
with a Budweiser
with a
yet another
tab Budweiser, who clearly sponsored this movie about underage drinking.
I'm sorry, but no. Oh yeah, that's true. I was gonna say Budweiser is better than this than Pepsi and Leviathan, though, because just saying.
Oh well, it makes more sense to be there.
Yeah, exactly.
For sure.
And Pepsi sucks, people. Just saying. Not saying Budweiser's good, but just saying it's better for them to promote this, I guess, because it fit the story.
Right. Yeah,
but you're right.
That's what these kids are going to go grab at the fucking.
Yeah, but I loved it. Remember on the first date with Matt Dillon? Okay, this is where I was confused because I turned to you. I paused because, and again, I've seen this several times, but I just wanted your take. The first date, they don't do it yet. They don't go to fourth base. Remember?
Yeah.
Send her. Or the home run.
No one corrects her on that either.
I know.
Like why this movie is, and you know what? That's actually disappointing because I feel like Kristy McNichol knows that she's wrong and doesn't even attempt to correct her because she's a tomboy.
You even screamed.
She knows.
You ladies don't know sports.
I'm like, why are girls so dumb with sports in this movie? I mean, it doesn't make any sense.
This movie. I hope you don't mean in general.
No, I mean, Kristy should know that there is no fourth base. No one calls it that.
Yeah, exactly. Well, at one point they say home run and fourth base, and you and I were just looking at each other like rolling our eyes because it's funny. But you're right. But the consequences with Gary Callahan was obviously the one when the bet is set up. Who's going to lose their virginity first?
Right.
Angel or Ferris? Kristy McNichol or Tatum O'Neal? And obviously Tatum O'Neal sets her sights on Callahan, Armand Assante.
Right. Who's the coach.
Who's the coach, and his hairy chest, which is, thank you, beautiful. But nothing happens.
His sleepy eyes and his Frenchness.
I know. And she's just like Romeo and Juliet, and she's trying so hard. It's so silly, but it's funny.
It's very silly.
But anyway, it's implied she tells the girls that she did it.
Right.
And she's glowing.
When she didn't. She's a liar.
She's a liar, and it's just blasphemous.
I can't believe that a young person would lie about their status as a virgin. That's insanity to me.
Right?
It's completely unrealistic.
I appreciate you bringing the sarcasm to every podcast, too. But so she lies, but here's what's bad about it. Because it's one thing if you lie that you did it, but obviously he's someone in power. So, he's older, he's a superior, he works there. So we're not just talking...
Kids are entrusted to his care.
I know, but here's what's funny every time I see it. It's not that you lost your job, because you did. It's not said, but it's implied. But, I mean, hello, statutory rape, right? It's like, oh my gosh, like, it all fixes itself. That's what's weird. It all fixes itself in like 15 minutes.
That's part of why I said, like, they wouldn't make this movie the same way today. Sure. I mean, to be fair, we have other camp movies that cover the same thing. Sleepaway Camp has a pedophile working in that camp. That cook is I'm gonna get me one of these little girls, and it's like it's gross. And they laugh at it. Like the other people who aren't pedophiles are literally like, oh, there he goes again with his jokes about raping kids. It's terrible. But
even cornering Felissa Rose in the in the room, the food room, food locker
before,
and and it's just like somebody thankfully stepped in, before like he was like, it was actually creepy to watch.
It's super.
So I get it. So this was inferred different, I guess.
This was inferred different, but it's still, if the exact same events of this movie happened in a real camp in 2022. That guy wouldn't be just fired but go back to your cabin. Yeah. He would be
walked off,
suspended, forced out of the camp entirely and you're going to investigate this shit but without you
exactly
here.
But and they even say it at the end where the girls are sitting around and they're like, we're going to tell the truth.
Right.
Because clearly they find out, we know he's going to lose his job. And Tatum O'Neal, everybody finds out she didn't sleep with him. And they're like, we have to go make it right because we have to get him out of trouble. And even the one girl says, Cinder, the bitch, says, Well, why? They're just it's already done with. They're not going to believe you. They're going to think you're defending your lover. But yet, that's what's so funny about it. That's the only thing with this movie. But you know what? It's 87 minutes long or 90 minutes long. So it's like everything. You gotta
wrap it up.
You gotta wrap it up.
You gotta.
So
and this is not meant to.
It's like
this might have been how it would be handled at the time too.
Oh, that's also a good point. But that's what's funny. Then remember, within 15 minutes, then they're getting on the bus and all the kids are leaving, and then Armand Assante and. Why do I want to say Assante? It's Assante.
Yeah.
I don't know why I want to throw an R in there.
Because you're already Armanding?
Maybe? Or his hairy chest is distracting. I don't know. But
like a pirate? Like R?
R. But she gets on the bus and it's like, okay, everything's already... It's like the Brady Bunch episode. You know, every Brady Bunch episode was 30 minutes long. Everything was handled within 30 minutes of that episode.
Yeah.
Or Facts of Life or what other... episode. Nothing gets handled in 30 minutes, but I mean, I guess it's a movie, so I'm trying not to analyze it. But the little things like that, they don't really stick in my craw. It's how my mind works.
Yeah.
Is what I'm saying. But thankfully, he is what?
He's reinstated,
he's
right?
Cleared, he's reinstated.
They show him because at the end of camp, they show him like doing the roll call, getting everybody on the bus.
That's what I mean.
Yeah.
So, and then they have their nice little exchange. A killer for me, though, was the Matt Dillon, Kristy McNichol scene where she, he thinks, like, if it was just a bet, a lay's a lay, why didn't we just do it? And it didn't have to be a bet. You should have just made me in on the bet. And she's like, I lost, okay? Because she's like, she did the right thing. She told everybody she didn't sleep with them. And then he's like, he tries. That was a hard scene to watch for me personally, but I love Matt Dillon. So I was looking at it like, oh my God, she still turned him down. And turned down future sex with Matt Dillon.
Yeah.
I don't know.
It takes a strong woman to do that.
It really does.
It just dawned on me now. This is episode 6, episode 7? What is it?
I think it's 6.
Voyage was 6? Because I got 5 done. Voyage is 6, and then this is 7. In 7 episodes... Both you and I picked a movie where somebody lies about having sex with Matt Dillon.
What am I thinking?
Well, Wild Things.
Oh, Wild Things. Yeah. Oh, yeah, sure.
And then this. It's just kind of funny.
It is kind of funny.
We've hit on 7 movies.
Also,
2 of them have people lying about having sex with Matt Dillon.
Also, what's funny is we didn't even mean to do this. I wanted the viewers to know this, too. Our debut was Erin Brockovich.
Yeah.
And then we did Leviathan. Mm-hmm. And we talked a lot about Sigourney Weaver. No idea that episode 3 was going to be Working Girl. You see the Sigourney tie, right, Sigourney Weaver, the tie into Working Girl, and then Wild Things, and then now the tie into Matt Dillon into Little Darlings.
It's all connected.
We really didn't actually mean to do this, though. I mean, I didn't per se. It was just like I like the flow kind of thing. Yeah. So, also, listeners, I wanted to say we so appreciate everything that you've been feedback and that you've been watching. Working Girl was number 3. Let's give it some love too. So because that was a fun one to do.
Working Girl is a great episode.
Yeah,
it's one of my favorites that we've done.
The only reason I brought that up is because I wanted to say today we were talking about of the few episodes so far, this being 6. Do we have our favorite? I think, and I think we both have a little bit of our favorites, but and Working Girl's one of them.
Working Girl's one of them.
And then Wild Things is just wild people.
Wild Things is a fun time. It's good.
And the other thing we have to mention, I said it in the podcast at the end before this. Alexa Keenan was also the bad girl in Pretty in Pink, who made fun of Molly Ringwald the whole time. One of the 2 bad girls. She was Dana in this movie, and she was
awesome in this movie too. Like, I really liked her character in this movie.
Oh, she was awesome. You said, yeah. Oh, yeah, for sure. I loved her, and she was one of the main characters, like holding Kristy McNichol up. Like being her like buddy, and like she was funny. She was super funny. But anyway, bad girl in Pretty in Pink, and ironically, died at 23. I didn't look too much into it. I don't know if there was actually a cause of death. Not important, I guess, but given she was in this, and she did other things, but then specifically, if you're a Pretty in Pink fan as I am, it was just kind of sad to note, and at a young age of 23. So I just wanted to throw that out there, just because I dug her, and she was a fun character in this, and just kind of sad. So just a little note there. Otherwise, I already know what I gave this on Letterboxd.
I haven't written my review yet, but
you're still vacillating.
This is waffling between a 4 and a 4.5. Like this is no shit a great movie. You could do a lot worse with your $4 than rent this, or be cheap about it and watch it on YouTube for free.
Yeah, and the music's good. I dug the music.
The music's really good. Like, and I don't mean the song. Well, here's the thing. I actually made a mental note about the music during this movie because there's not a lot of songs in the soundtrack. There's a few. There's like 3 or 4. But the score isn't all that memorable. But there is a montage sequence early on in the film, like right when they decide to make the bet on which girl would lose their virginity first. And then it rolls into just a montage of various camp scenes and things happening. Yeah. And that track is absolutely a bopper. Yeah. And I'm like that's such a fun piece of score. Yeah. In an otherwise, it's not that it's a bad score. It's just very much the focus.
Well, there's some key songs in there. Oh, my lover for the first time. Yeah. Sorry, but we're not going to sing here because that's not.
That was the Good Will Hunting.
That was from Good Will Hunting.
Later.
And at the end, you're my best friend. Yeah. That clip at the end.
Blondie had a moment.
She had a banger in there.
One way or another.
And one way or another, and I dug it. And there's one other song in there,
which was also a key scene because that was where they steal the school bus.
The school bus, which is a great scene.
Racing it down
to get condoms.
One of the greatest scenes in this movie, and that's where they meet Matt Dillon.
And that's where they meet Matt Dillon, and that's when she says, "Don't let the name fool you," which is the whole basis of that surrounds the whole movie.
Which also, like, now that I'm thinking about it, it also begs the question about the overseeing of these camps in general, because not only did they hijack a school bus to leave their own camp, but they drive off of the site of the camps to I'm assuming just it was like a Texaco, right, or a convenience store, Chevron, something like that.
Very small town,
right? They go to the men's room because obviously there's condom machines in the men's room,
and they're trying to have safe sex. People,
the men's room is locked.
Yes.
So they can't get into it. So they have Penelope climb in through the window above it, and it's never actually explained why that bathroom was locked because nobody's inside the bathroom.
I'll tell you why. I bet you I know. You probably because they're at a gas station.
Oh, because they need to go in to get the key. You're right,
and they're not going to go do that because they're going to be like, "Why do you need it?"
It's the men's room,
and they're trying to see. I always thought they were doing a pit stop originally, because they all got to pee from the bus trip, but clearly they need condoms because safe sex people, which the scene before they said gotta have protection.
Exactly.
Which with whoever has sex first in the back.
Such a fantastic, by the way, like look at the public perception of sex in the time period too. Because, it's like, well, the man's responsible for contraception. Yeah. And one of the girls like, well, not since the pill came out.
Exactly.
And then it's like, none of these girls are on the pill.
No, exactly. And they're also 15, and you shouldn't be. Also, Sean learned a key thing.
A lot easier to get condoms than the pill, too, at that age.
The key thing Sean learned in this movie was, as I guess I did as well, Sean, how much are condoms in 1980?
A single condom from the condom dispenser
in the men's bathroom at the gas station
was 50 cents.
Yes.
Which seems like a lot of money for the time period.
Yeah.
I would expect it to just be a quarter or something.
How much is a candy bar? I mean.
Well, back then, probably a quarter, or maybe 50 cents. I don't know.
How much is a tampon? I mean, not all. I
can't account.
Sorry. No, I'm saying not all bathrooms have had or have tampon machines. I'm saying I've never had to
Not
get one from a machine,
Not all
so I don't know.
bathrooms had condom dispensers either, because they considered that to be like just inviting the devil into their community.
And also, did I just equate condoms to candy bars? I think I did, because candy bars can't. I don't know. I think I did there, but it's a serious question. How much was a candy bar back then?
Right.
Was it 50 cents?
I don't think it was 50 cents. I remember like candy bars being like 50 cents in the late 90s.
What's more important, a condom or a candy bar?
Well, it depends on how old you are.
Oh, it also depends on the situation. Are you hungry or are you hungry? Right? I don't know.
Yeah, exactly. I mean,
there's two different kinds.
Penelope doesn't have any need for a condom.
No, but she went took a whack at that.
Oh, yeah. She was kicking the hell out of that machine.
Oh, my God. She was the best.
But, again, this is the scene where they meet Matt Dillon, because Matt Dillon just walks up. So here's the thing. Matt Dillon isn't in camp either at that time. He's just going to the convenience store what?
If you remember, I'll tell you why. He shows up in the car with the hot car with the hot girl. And Kristy says to him, as she's staring at his butt before he turns for his first turn face scene in the movie. That's his first.
And then 10 seconds later, his hair stops turning along with his face.
I know. Yeah. But she says, "What are you doing here? Like, how'd you get here?" And he goes, or no, she said, "How'd you get the car?" And he's like, "I just picked it up." And she goes, "Yeah, how about the girl in it?" And he goes, "Well, she came along with the car." So that's what's great. He also said to her later when they, in the boathouse, he says, since I've been thinking of you and since, our last time, we were together getting to know each other.
He hasn't seen
he hasn't seen anybody else. So apparently he's a little bit of a ladies' man, and apparently he's getting tail at Camp Tomahawk. But, I mean, where's he getting tail from? Is he getting it from Camp Little Wolf? Is it another camp?
I wouldn't think so, because, I think he's skewing older. I don't know if there's an older
he did say, I like older girls. Yeah.
I mean, obviously, he likes girls that can drive cars.
True.
I mean, so...
Kristy McNichol can drive a bus.
Well, she can also drive a bike, motorcycle.
Yeah, she also hotwired that bus, I believe.
Yeah.
I don't know if they actually had the key.
She didn't. They did a zoom in on it. She hijacked. She jumped it.
You know why? Because her name's Angel. Don't let the name fool you.
Because she's Joe Polnicek.
She is. I love that you said that. I never equated that the first two times I saw that.
She's the same character. I would buy it if I would buy it if this was a prequel to The Facts of Life. Yeah. And she was Joe. I totally. No, I would too.
I would too.
But yeah, so
that bus scene was great though.
Both the girls. By the way, girls that don't even normally hang out with each other were on that bus, which is great.
Yeah.
But all the girls are together. They're vandalizing a public gas station.
Yes.
Matt Dillon is there, who's riding around with some girl that we never see in the rest of the movie.
Some older girl, exactly.
And
it doesn't matter.
No one's on campgrounds.
Right.
And nobody, they're gonna drive back to camp. We don't see it happen. Yeah. But they're all going to drive back to their respective camps and feature and have no repercussions for their actions whatsoever.
The word irresponsible comes to mind, but I like that because anything irresponsible sometimes is just fun. I like it. It's it's fun and fun.
People are too goddamn responsible this day.
Speaking of irresponsible, we both paused at one point again to note these are things that I think of, but thankfully you looked at me and we were both thinking the same thing. When they're in the boathouse. And they're getting ready to have sex. Okay, and they're smoking.
Yeah, they're smoking.
And they're lighting their Marlboro Reds. And I'm thinking is... With matchbooks. And all I'm thinking is, this is... Okay, I know I sound like a mom and I don't have kids. And I sound super responsible. But I'm like, this place could go up at any minute if you don't, did you put your match out?
You could.
There's a lot of dry kindling in there.
You could light a cigarette in a firework factory, and I'd feel safer than lighting a cigarette in that cabin.
And because you too are big smokers,
right? And it's not a controlled fire. It's just a matchstick that they light their cigarette and then throw on the ground.
And then that whole forest would go on fire. Granted, the lake's right there, but that whole forest. I mean, I was just like
ecosystem up in flames.
And then at the end, or not the end, but the second scene in the boathouse where Dillon is says to her, "Oh, this was your first time." and he like threw his cigarette out. But you saw him. I was watching him. He stepped on it.
Yeah.
But I was like, oh, remember I turned to you and I go, I hope he stepped on that really hard. Because, I mean, they were like, there was a ton of kindling in there because that's what they used as a bed, remember, to like do it.
Exactly.
So, I don't know. Those are things I think of. Irresponsible. Terrible. But they're kids. What are you going to do?
They're kids.
And it's a great movie. I dug it. Hopefully we didn't segue too much and we didn't go like too far off
the movies being passed.
Four bases or home plate here. I don't know. Did we? I don't know.
I don't think so. I think we effectively covered the fun.
It's not a long movie, folks.
It's not a long movie, and there's not a lot to it. It's a beautiful little slice of life movie. I wish we had more of these type of movies today.
Me too.
Like, to be totally honest.
And what we do know is Tatum O'Neal is a liar. She did not have the sex.
They're both liars.
Oh well, they both lied, but Tatum did not have the sex. Kristy had the sex, and then
lied about it.
And you know what? That scene was tough at the end. And literally, he's just like, can we still see each other? And she's like, no, it wouldn't be. And then the single tear again that came down her cheek. And then she looked away, but then looked back. And it was just like, I liked her in this. She's just, you're the poorer for this if you haven't seen it, because it's a good movie.
Yeah, I again recommend everybody. Out of all the movies that we watched, this one's probably the least available.
Yeah.
And to see, and I definitely would encourage people to take the extra step.
Yeah.
To watch it.
And I will say, because I like to throw it in, Sean said what he's probably going to give it on Letterboxd. I like to always throw in what I'm going to give it. I already gave it 5 stars, and every time I see it, I give it 5 stars. And you know, nobody has to agree with me. I'm just saying that's how I feel. It moves me every time. I like it. I dig it. I love everything about it. So I'm super happy you liked it.
Yeah.
So,
and I was worried because I was genuinely excited to see this movie.
Yeah.
Like that I wasn't even building it up too much for myself.
Yeah.
Apropos of nothing else, just because obviously you're a fan and I have a friend that I have similar interests with.
Yeah.
That was also a fan. And, you know, sometimes it doesn't always work out the way that you would hope. But no, this is a great film. Genuinely.
And I'm glad. And again, it's, you know, we still laugh about Officer and the Gentleman podcast.
I'd even say out of all of the movies that we've done for this series.
Yeah.
I mean, as far as legitimately great movies, I think this is the best.
Yeah.
Out of all of them so far.
Of the ones we've done reviewed for the podcast.
6 or 7 episodes that we've
done. And again,
so
that's why I started to bring up Officer and a Gentleman, because we don't always have to agree. And, you know, the joke is we got angry at each other. But that's what's funny. It's just like, that's what I like. It's like, I never care if you don't like it or not. That's what we're here to talk about, really. But it's exceptional when something is like special to me, and then you're like, I really think this is good too.
Yeah,
because I want to share it with somebody else.
And we, even though the concept of this podcast is just, you know, sharing movies that the other hadn't seen, I do give you some credit that you are taking the movie picks more as this is a movie I love.
Yeah.
And I want to share it.
Expose.
Yeah. Whereas I am looking at it more of this is a movie that I may or may not love, but I just want you to see.
Gotcha.
And
yeah, I get
you know,
it. I get it.
Yeah. And so, which is why, you know, something like Leviathan, it's just like, I want you to see this.
But this was a little bit of both for me. I love it. It's close to my heart, but at the same time, also super excited for you to see.
But like I said during Voyage of the Rock Aliens, it's like, I needed you to see this movie. And I needed you to see it for that one scene in particular.
So you could see my face.
Yes. So I had that was my motivation for that movie. Not that I genuinely think.
Can we talk about my PTSD from that movie still, or no?
No, I know what you do. You just listen to the soundtrack day in and day out ever since.
Some of those songs are stuck in my head.
They should be.
I don't mean in a good way.
They're boppers.
Okay. They are. Anyway, we digress. This has been fun. We really would. We'd both really like you to see this movie. It's a good time, and you know, hopefully you enjoyed this. And we are coming back at you next week with. I hope Sean's ready for it. So, because he has to, we always announce the next movie.
I am.
And here he goes.
Next week's movie is a movie that has mixed reception, but Kristy is a big fan of the lead actor in the movie.
I'm curious. Okay. Because I have no idea what it is.
Keanu Reeves.
Oh, hello. Okay, I'm already in. We can stop the show.
Well, they still need to know the movie.
I know, but I'm just saying, I'm in. I'm in.
But it's a movie that we've actually talked about in passing, and I've brought it out a couple of times.
I have not seen a Keanu movie.
Yeah, well, there's lots of movies.
Okay.
Miss, I haven't seen Permanent Record until like a year ago.
Oh,
come on.
Do we have to judge at the end here? No, we don't. Okay, stick to the subject.
So the movie that I'm showing Kristy, it's kind of in a Halloweenish vein because it's that time of year, and it was recently announced that they're making a sequel to this movie. From 2005.
I got a feeling. Okay, I got a feeling. Do we need a drum roll? My drum roll's terrible. That's terrible.
But it sounds like you're gargling.
Okay. Right. Insert drum roll.
Right, insert drum roll here. 2005's Constantine.
Okay. I have not seen it.
You haven't seen it? And again, it's...
I did know there was going to be a sequel.
Reception, but he's always wanted to do a sequel to it, and it was a successful movie, but not like a beloved successful movie.
Okay.
And now
is he a main character?
He is Constantine.
I'm sorry. He is Constantine,
the main character in this movie.
Oh well, Jesus! When are we watching that?
Watch it.
Okay. No, I mean we're gonna watch this soon. Yeah. All right. That's okay. It's Keanu, so I'm in. So.
Which should be actually readily available everywhere.
Okay. I was gonna say, tell them how to watch that. What year?
2005.
Okay.
So still 17 years ago now.
Yeah.
It's rare for a movie to get a sequel that many years after.
Yeah, that is a bit crazy.
But yeah, it's...
Okay, I'm excited. It's Keanu, so... And it's Constantine, and we're coming back at you hopefully here...
In a week or so.
And hope you enjoyed this. And just want to say thanks for all your support.
Absolutely. It's a lot of fun doing this. It's a lot of fun getting the feedback from you guys on it.
Yeah. So stick with us.
So stick with us and do yourself a favor and go watch Little Darlings.
And yes, absolutely. And have a great week. We'll see you on the flip side. Cheers.
Cheers.